My name is Olivia Harrison. I'm 37 years old. 20 years ago, when I was only 17 and pregnant, my parents called me a disgrace and threw me out of their lives like garbage. Today, those same parents stood in the gleaming marble lobby of Springfield Memorial Hospital, demanding to meet their grandson, the chief of cardiac surgery they had recently seen featured on the evening news. My mother clutched her Hermes Birkin like a shield of pride. My father checked the time on his Patek Philippe, both of them dressed in their finest, ready to impress the successful son of the daughter they had erased from existence. What they didn't know was that another woman's will, the woman who saved my life when they refused to, was about to deliver karma in its final form. But before I tell you how that unfolded, take a moment to like and subscribe if this story speaks to you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me take you back to the night everything began. October 2004. I stood in my parents' grand living room, the one with imported Italian marble floors and a chandelier worth more than most people's cars. My hands trembled as I held a positive pregnancy test. "You're lying," my mother snapped, her voice cold and sharp. No daughter of mine would be so vulgar. So I took a second test, then a third. All positive. My father didn't shout. That would have required emotion, and he never wasted it. Instead, he walked calmly to my bedroom and returned carrying my suitcase, the one they had bought for my so-called college visits. He placed it by the front door with precise finality. "You have 10 minutes, he said, adjusting his Yale class ring. "Take whatever fits. Leave your house keys on the table. Dad, please. You are no longer our daughter." He turned the framed family portrait on the mantel face down, the picture where we all wore matching white shirts and artificial smiles. Our daughter would never spread her legs for some boy and ruin everything we've built. My mother stood beside the grandfather clock, inspecting her manicure like none of this concerned her. "Don't call us. Don't come back. We'll tell people you're studying abroad." Owen, the boy who promised me forever, had already been accepted to Stanford. His parents had lawyers. His future mattered. Mine didn't. He blocked my number the day I told him I was pregnant. 10 minutes. That's all I had to pack 17 years of being their child. I grabbed some clothes, my grandmother's necklace they had forgotten existed, and $227 from my jewelry box. The lock clicked behind me like a judge's gavel. Final. Permanent. That night I slept in Riverside Park, curled beneath the gazebo where Owen had first kissed me. 3 nights later, I woke to someone gently shaking my shoulder. Not a police officer. Not a predator. A woman in her 70s stood there, wrapped in a cashmere coat, genuine concern in her eyes. "Child, you'll freeze to death out here." Her name was Elena Rossi. She had been walking her elderly poodle at dawn, a routine she kept since her husband passed. She saw me on that bench, my suitcase serving as a pillow, and something inside her shifted. "I'm fine," I lied, teeth chattering. "No, you're not." She studied my face, then my belly. Even at barely 2 months pregnant, she understood immediately. When I finally broke, really cried, not the silent tears I had rationed for 3 days, she sat beside me on that freezing bench and held me as though I mattered. "Come," she said softly. "Pierre and I need company for breakfast." Her car smelled of lavender and leather. The heated seats felt like salvation. She drove us to West Side, to a house that stretched across land the size of a small park. 8 bedrooms for 1 widow and 1 aging poodle. Inside, she said simply, "I lost my daughter. A car accident 5 years earlier." Her daughter had been pregnant too. The room she showed me had already been prepared. Not for me specifically, but for someone who never came home. A Pottery Barn crib stood in the corner. The closet held maternity clothes with tags still on. "This is yours now," Elena said. "No questions. No conditions. Everyone deserves a second chance." "Why?" I whispered. She touched a framed photograph on the dresser. A young woman with Elena's eyes and smile. "Because Sophia would have wanted me to." That night I slept in a real bed for the first time in 72 hours. Pierre curled at my feet like a tiny guardian. Elena didn't just give me shelter. She gave me a future. While my parents told their country club friends I was studying in Switzerland, I rebuilt my life in a nursery painted with stars. My son Seagar arrived during a February blizzard, screaming perfect alive. Elena held my hand through 18 hours of labor, whispering strength when I had none. When I asked her, she cut the cord herself. She was the first to hold him after me. "He's brilliant," she declared, though he was only minutes old. "I can see it in his eyes." She was right. Segar walked at 9 months. Read at 3. Tested into gifted programs before kindergarten. While I studied for my GED at night and took community college courses online, he devoured knowledge like other children devoured cartoons. Elena owned 3 restaurants: Rossi's downtown, the bistro on 5th, and the cafe near the university. She started me as a hostess, then taught me inventory, staff scheduling, profit margins. "You're not just working here," she told me. "You're learning how to run an empire." When Segar was 7, he performed surgery on his teddy bear using real sutures he learned from YouTube tutorials. At 10, he read my anatomy textbooks. At 16, Harvard Medical School accepted him through early admission. That same year, a lawyer named Lance Mitchell walked into Rossi's to update Elena's will. She insisted on adding new provisions every year after taking us in. He was tall, calm, with kind eyes and terrible jokes. And for the first time in years, I laughed. "Your son is extraordinary," Lance said one afternoon over coffee that slowly turned into dinner. "His grandmother deserves the credit." "I wasn't talking about Elena," I replied. He smiled knowingly. "She mentioned something interesting about her will. Something about protecting the family you choose." Even back then, Elena was preparing for storms we didn't yet see. Everything shifted the day the Springfield Gazette published a headline: 20-year-old surgeon becomes youngest department chief in state history. Segar's photo filled half the front page. My son in surgical scrubs, standing proudly before the cardiac wing he had already transformed. The article printed his full name: Dr. Segar Harrison, MD, PhD. My maiden name, the name my parents believed they had erased. Within hours, the story exploded online. Prodigy doctor saves 3 lives in one day. Gen Z surgeon revolutionizes heart surgery. Real-life Doogie Howser. That evening, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. I nearly ignored it, but the voicemail stopped me cold. "Olivia." My mother's voice. "After 20 years of silence, we need to discuss our grandson." Our grandson. Not your son. Not Segar. Just a possession they had suddenly remembered. Then came the email, sent to the public address of my restaurant. Formal. Distant. Corporate. "Dear Olivia, we hope this message finds you well. Recent news has come to our attention regarding Segar's outstanding accomplishments. As his grandparents, we believe it is time to reconnect." Signed neatly beneath, Harrison Industries, the same company they had protected by throwing me away. Lance found me in my office, tears streaming. Not from sadness but fury. "They want him now that he's successful," I said. 20 years of silence, and now they want to claim him. Lance's jaw tightened. "What do you want to do? Make them disappear again?" He pulled me gently into his arms. "We can. But first, let me check Elena's documents." She included provisions for situations exactly like this. That night, Segar worked a 16-hour shift, saving 2 lives. He had no idea grandparents existed, or that they were circling like vultures sensing gold. They began quietly. A reservation at Rossi's under a false name. Sitting in my section, watching me. I recognized my mother's emerald ring before I recognized her face. Age had not softened her. Botox battled bitterness and was losing. "Good evening. I'm Olivia." My father placed his menu down like a judge delivering sentence. "We need to discuss Segar. You need to leave." They didn't. Next came the gifts. Packages sent to the hospital. A Rolex Submariner. A Montblanc pin set. A first edition Grey's Anatomy worth a fortune. Each card signed, "Your loving grandparents." Segar brought them home puzzled. "Mom, someone keeps sending me expensive things. Should I be worried?" "Return them," I said. "Every one." Their next move. A legal letter requesting grandparent visitation rights. Lance actually laughed while reading it. "They're claiming established family bonds," he said. "Bonds they severed themselves." He pulled out a photocopy, a document signed 20 years earlier. My parents had legally relinquished all parental rights and responsibilities. including any claim to future children. They didn't just throw you out, Lance said. They legally erased you and any child you might ever have. But still they pushed. They hired a private investigator to track Seagar's routines. They contacted the hospital board, introducing themselves as Dr. Harrison's grandparents, attempting invitations to elite fundraisers. The breaking point came when my mother approached Seagar directly at a coffee shop near the hospital. "You look just like your grandfather," she said, stepping into his path. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "I'm your grandmother, sweetheart. Your mother kept us apart." Seagar called me immediately. "Mom, some woman claiming to be my grandmother just ambushed me. Should I call security?" "Yes," I said. "Always." Then at 2 a.m. another ghost from the past. "Owen. Liv, it's me. Please don't hang up." After 20 years, he still thought hearing his voice would matter. "What do you want, Owen?" "I saw the news about Seagar. He's incredible. Our son now that Seagar was famous. When I was 17 and terrified," I said. "He was mine alone. Now he's saving lives, and suddenly you remember him." "I was 18, Liv. My parents threatened me." "To do what? Disown you? Kick you out? Leave you sleeping in parks while pregnant?" Silence. Then he spoke again, voice cracking. "I'm divorced. My startup failed. I've lost everything. I just want to know him. He's my blood." "Blood?" I said. "You blocked my number when I needed you most." He exhaled shakily. "My parents contacted me. They think if I'm involved, you'll be more open to reconciliation. They're offering financial help if I convince you." I hung up. Then I called Lance. "They're coordinating," I said. "My parents and Owen. Planning this together." "Good," Lance replied. "Conspiracies leave evidence. Forward me every call, email, and text." Elena was very clear about documentation. The next morning, Owen sent a long email claiming father's rights. He CC'd my parents. At the bottom of his signature line was the confirmation that told us everything. Consultant, Harrison Industries Family Relations. They had hired the man who abandoned me to manipulate me into giving them access to my son. Elena had been right all along. Family is not blood. Family is choice. And some choices once made can never be undone. If you've ever had to stand up to family who only want you once you succeed, leave a like to remind others they aren't alone. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Next, you'll see what happens when truth meets the spotlight. Where are you watching from and what time is it there? Because this story is for anyone who knows. DNA does not equal loyalty. Now let me tell you what happened when my parents decided to take their demands public. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Seagar was 8 hours into a delicate pediatric heart surgery when my parents walked through the VIP entrance of Springfield Memorial Hospital. "We're here to see our grandson, Dr. Harrison," my mother announced, loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. "We're his grandparents, the Harrisons of Harrison Industries." The receptionist called security instead of Seagar. But my parents had anticipated resistance. "This is outrageous," my father thundered, his voice bouncing off the marble walls. "We donate millions to this hospital. Our grandson is chief of surgery. We demand to see him." Visitors paused. Doctors whispered. Someone lifted a phone and began recording. My mother, always ready for performance, pulled out a monogrammed silk handkerchief. Not tissues but something dramatic. "For 20 years we've been kept from him," she sobbed loudly. "We only want to meet our only grandchild." Security arrived just as I did, Lance walking beside me. "Ma'am, sir," the guard said calmly. "Dr. Harrison is currently in surgery." "Then we'll wait," my father declared, seating himself on a leather bench as though he owned the hospital. And with Harrison Industries plaques on the walls, he probably believed he did. The head of security turned to me. "Mrs. Mitchell, how would you like us to handle this?" My mother's tears vanished instantly. "Mitchell," she snapped. "You remarried? You gave our grandson another man's name." "He never had your name," I said quietly. "You made sure of that when you signed him away." A murmur moved through the growing crowd. My father's face reddened. "How dare you?" Just then, the operating room doors opened. Seagar stepped out in surgical scrubs, the infant he had just saved being wheeled toward recovery. He took in the scene: security guards, strangers filming, two elegantly dressed elders causing chaos, then looked at me. "Are these the people who've been stalking me?" he asked. "Yes," I answered. "Then I want them removed." He didn't even look at them. And still my parents didn't leave. Instead, they went straight to the hospital parking lot and called Channel 7 News. Within an hour, news vans surrounded the entrance. My mother had changed outfits, a St. John's suit. She had brought costume changes for her ambush. My father stood beside her in a Harvard tie, playing the role of wounded patriarch. "We are heartbroken," my mother told reporter Jennifer Chan. 20 years ago, there was a misunderstanding. We were shocked by our teenage daughter's pregnancy. We reacted poorly. But we've tried to reconnect and make amends, and we are being denied access to our only grandchild. She dabbed her eyes with the same monogrammed handkerchief, careful not to disturb her makeup. "Dr. Harrison is a medical pioneer," the reporter prompted. "You must be proud." "Incredibly proud," my father said. Though he had never seen Seagar save a life, comfort a patient, or work 30 hours straight perfecting a procedure. The Harrison family has always valued excellence. It's in his blood. In his blood. The same blood they rejected while it was still growing inside me. "What would you say to your daughter now?" Jennifer asked. My mother stared straight into the camera. "Olivia, sweetheart, we forgive you. We just want our family reunited. Please don't punish Seagar for our mistakes." "They forgive me." The segment aired at 6 o'clock. By 7, it had 50,000 views on Facebook, the account my mother ran like a lifestyle page. Comments flooded in. "Family is everything. Let them meet their grandson. Why are you so cruel, Olivia?" Lance closed the laptop. "They've just made a serious mistake," he said. "Going public?" I asked. "No. Claiming they forgive you. That's an admission of wrongdoing. And we have the documents proving exactly what they did." The next morning, the hospital's chief administrator called me in. "Olivia," Dr. Morrison said, nervously spinning his Montblanc pen, "this situation is becoming complicated. The Harrisons have donated $12 million over the years. The board is concerned." "Concerned about what?" "The optics. Perhaps one supervised meeting could resolve this." "Would you meet with people who threw you away like garbage?" He shifted uncomfortably. "It's not my decision, but Seagar's position could be affected." "Are you threatening my son's job?" No. Just considering all angles." At Rossi's, customers suddenly had opinions. "Family is complicated," one regular said while I refilled her wine. "But forgiveness is divine. Don't you think?" Even my staff whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. As if being abandoned while pregnant was the same as forgetting a birthday. That night, Seagar came home exhausted. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Mom," he said. 3 surgeries were delayed today because reporters kept trying to enter the operating wing. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'll fix this." "It's not your fault," he said, sinking onto the couch. "But maybe if I meet them once, I could tell them to leave us alone in person." "No." He looked surprised. "They signed documents stating you don't exist to them legally." He was quiet for a long moment. "Can I see those papers?" Lance had been waiting for that question. He opened the folder he'd carried for days. "This is what they signed," he said. "The day they threw your mother out." Seagar read carefully, surgeon's hand steady despite words meant to break hearts. "October 15, 2004, he read aloud. "We, Robert and Margaret Harrison, hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Olivia Harrison and any children born or unborn." His voice remained calm, clinical, but his knuckles turned white. "They signed this while you were pregnant with me?" "Yes." "And this line, we acknowledge no financial, emotional, or legal obligations." "They wrote that," I said. "Their lawyer drafted it. They signed." Seagar set the papers down as gently as he handled a scalpel. "Tell me everything, Mom. From the beginning." So I did. The 10 minutes. The suitcase. The park bench. And Owen disappearing. Everything I had shielded him from for 20 years exploded in my kitchen, while Lance held my trembling hand. Owen Blake was his biological father. Yes, the tech entrepreneur who had just gone bankrupt. Sigurd stared at me. Mom, I'm not stupid. I know how to use Google. He showed me his phone. Owen Blake, Stanford graduate, former boyfriend of Olivia Harrison in high school. Then another screen. Owen had been checking Sigurd's LinkedIn profile every week for 6 months. My brilliant boy, I whispered. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't, he replied softly. I figured when I was ready I'd tell you. He looked back at the papers. So Grandma Elena was your real grandmother. The only one who wanted you. She left something for me, didn't she? In her will. That's why Lance keeps going through documents. Lance nodded. She left you everything under conditions. Your biological grandparents get nothing if they abandoned you. How much? Sigurd asked. $15 million. Plus the restaurants. Sigurd actually laughed. They're fighting this hard for money they've already lost. They just don't know it yet, Lance said. But they're about to. They chose Bernardino's, the most pretentious restaurant in Springfield. White tablecloths, smug waiters, expensive silence. Thank you for coming, my mother said, as if dragging me here was a victory. My father slid a leather folder across the table before the water even arrived. Let's skip the small talk. Inside was a contract on Harrison Industries letterhead. Corporate seal. Perfectly prepared. $5 million placed in trust for Sigurd immediately, my father said. Another 5 when he joins the board. All we need is a public reconciliation. A family photograph for the announcement. You want to buy us? I asked coldly. We want to invest in our legacy, my mother corrected, adjusting her pearls. Sigurd is a Harrison. He deserves the benefits of that name. The name you took from me, I said. And now you're offering to return. The IPO launches next month, my father added. Harrison Industries, 3 generations of excellence. Tests very well with focus groups. Focus groups. They had market-tested our reconciliation. And Owen? I asked. My father's jaw tightened. Mr. Blake is irrelevant. Is he? Lance finally spoke. Because we have emails suggesting otherwise. Something about a finder's fee. You've been monitoring our communications, my father snapped. That's illegal, my mother hissed. No, Lance replied calmly. Owen forwarded them to Olivia. CC'd. Honestly, he's not very smart. They exchanged the same look they once used when deciding my fate 20 years ago. The offer stands, my father said, tossing $300 bills onto the table. But not for long. As they walked away, my mother turned back. That boy deserves to know his real family. He does, I said. That's why he'll never know you. That night Lance worked late. Laptop open. Documents spread across the dining table like crime scene evidence. Which, in truth, they were. Olivia, look at this. The email chain went back 3 months before the first article about Sigurd ever appeared in the news. My parents had planned everything. From Robert Harrison at harrisonindustries.com to owenblake204@gmail.com. Subject: Consultation Agreement. Mr. Blake, per our discussion, you will receive 10% of any assets recovered through reconciliation with our daughter. Your role: establish paternal connection with SH. Leverage for maternal cooperation. They're calling my son assets recovered, I whispered. Keep reading, Lance said. Owen's reply turned my stomach. Happy to help. Olivia has always been emotional. If I push the right buttons about Miss Father-Son moments, she'll cave. Suggest we coordinate pressure. You from grandparent angle, me from father's rights. $500K up front seems reasonable. He's selling access to Sigurd, I breathed. He was, Lance corrected. This email chain proves conspiracy to commit fraud and harassment. He opened another screen. Owen's LinkedIn message to Sigurd, sent 3 days earlier. Son, I know your mother has poisoned you against me, but I am your father. I deserve a chance. Your grandparents agree. Together, Harrison Medical Legacy and Blake Innovation could build something powerful. Think of your future. Sigurd hadn't told me. Instead, he reported Owen for harassment. LinkedIn banned Owen's account. And, Lance smiled, Sigurd forwarded Owen's bankruptcy filing to the Harrison Industries board. Turns out they didn't appreciate being tied to a failed entrepreneur. who owed the IRS $2 million. The board voted yesterday, Lance said. They've terminated all consultant contracts. Your father doesn't know yet. Sometimes, Lance added, closing the laptop, karma just needs a good lawyer to give it a push. He opened Elena's safe using the combination she had made me memorize. July 23, 2005. The day Sigurd was born. She updated this every year, Lance said, pulling out a leather-bound document. But this clause never changed. He turned to page 7, paragraph 4, highlighted in yellow. Should any biological family member who previously abandoned, disowned, or rejected my chosen daughter Olivia Harrison or her son Sigurd Harrison attempt to claim relationship or assets after success or recognition, they shall be permanently barred from any inheritance, property, or financial benefit from my estate. She knew this would happen, I said softly. She planned for it. Look, Lance said, pressing play on an iPad. Elena's face appeared, recorded months before her death. Her voice was steady despite the cancer. If you're watching this, Elena said, then Robert and Margaret Harrison have crawled out from whatever rock they were hiding under. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. Yes, I know exactly who you are. I hired investigators the day I met Olivia. I know about the 10 minutes, the suitcase, the family portrait you turned face down. My throat tightened. Even in her final moments she had protected us. You discarded a treasure, Elena's voice continued. I found her. She became my daughter in every way that mattered. Sigurd became my grandson. And you? You are nothing. Ghosts. Just signatures on paper that guarantee you'll never harm them again. On the video, Elena stared directly into the camera. Olivia, my dear. They will come with money and promises. Do not believe them. You already have everything. The restaurants. The investments. This house. $15 million, all in your name secured in trust. They cannot touch it. They cannot touch you. Be free. The timestamp showed she had recorded it the day before she died. This, Lance said, pulling out another document, is the beautiful part. The original abandonment papers. I had seen copies before, but the originals felt heavier, more final. Their signatures were bold, confident, like a business transaction closing a deal. They didn't just throw you out, Lance explained. They legally emancipated you and permanently relinquished parental rights. But here's what their lawyer either failed to explain, or what they chose not to understand. He pointed to Clause 6. This relinquishment extends in perpetuity to any offspring, born or unborn, of the aforementioned minor. Forever. I stared. They cannot claim grandparent rights, Lance said. Legally, Sigurd is not their grandson. They ensured that themselves 20 years ago. But they're on television saying they were misled. That they didn't read what they signed, I said. Either way, Lance replied, tapping the page, this document is binding and irreversible. They could have challenged it in the first year. After that, he smiled. Ironclad. I thought of my father's Harvard Law diploma on his office wall. My mother's habit of reading every contract twice. They had known. They had wanted me gone so thoroughly that they had signed away not only their daughter, but their future lineage too. There's more, Lance said. If they continue harassment after seeing these documents, we can file restraining orders. Criminal harassment charges. Potential jail time. They'd never risk that, I murmured. Their reputation. Exactly. So we give them one opportunity to walk away quietly. If they don't, we go public. At the gala. The gala. 500 guests. Media coverage. Everything they valued, reputation, legacy, image, destroyed by their own signatures. For the first time in weeks I smiled. Elena thought of everything. She loved you, Lance said simply. This was her way of loving you forever. The Springfield Memorial Gala was 3 days away. 500 attendees. Full press coverage. And Sigurd delivering the keynote on family, legacy, and healing. We invite them, I said, holding the pearl shimmer invitation card. All 3 of them. Lance raised an eyebrow. You're sure? Elena left us the weapons, I replied. It's time to use them. I wrote each invitation by hand. Dear Mother and Father, you are cordially invited to the Springfield Memorial Gala to receive your inheritance from the Elena Rossi estate. Formal documentation will be presented. Olivia. Dear Owen, your presence is requested regarding Sigurd's patrimony and your parental status. Legal clarification will be provided. Olivia Harrison Mitchell. They'll think they've won, Lance said, sealing the envelopes. Let them, I answered. Sigurd rehearsed his speech once more. You want me to mention Grandma Elena but not them? He asked. Mention your real grandmother. The one who loved you, I said. And when they stand to claim credit, that's when Lance presents the documents. We had reserved a table directly in front. Table 1. Impossible to miss. Impossible to leave without being seen. The hospital board will be there, Lance noted. Harrison Industries investors too. Good. I called the foundation coordinator. Yes. We're announcing the Elena Rossi Foundation for Teen Mothers. $5 million in initial funding. 10 medical school scholarships. Everything was ready. 20 years of pain transformed into purpose. What if they don't come? Sigurd asked quietly. They'll come, I said. Their egos won't allow them to miss this. An hour later, Lance checked the RSVPs. All 3 accepted, he said. Within minutes. They think they've won, he added. Perfect, I replied. The best defeats happen when victory feels certain. The moment of truth was approaching. If you've ever had to stand up to those who should have protected you, comment strength below. I read every comment, and I'm deeply moved by this community supporting each other. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You need to see what happens when signatures from the past destroy futures built on lies. The gala is about to begin, and every camera in that room will capture the moment my parents learned that some choices can never be undone. Let's continue. The Springfield Memorial Ballroom shimmered with old money and new hope. Crystal chandeliers. White orchids on every table. And my parents seated proudly at table 1, holding court like royalty. My mother wore vintage Chanel, the suit she saved for victories. My father kept checking his phone, probably calculating the perfect moment for their grand performance. Owen sat beside them, uneasy in a rented tuxedo that didn't quite fit. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, please welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Sigurd Harrison. My son stepped onto the stage wearing hospital scrubs. Not a tux, not a suit, but the uniform he had earned saving lives. The crowd murmured. My parents' smiles stiffened. Good evening, Sigurd began. Tonight I want to talk about family. Not the family you're born into, but the family that chooses you when you need them most. My mother leaned forward, certain he meant them. Sigurd's voice remained steady. 20 years ago, a 17-year-old girl was thrown out of her home for getting pregnant. She slept in parks. She ate from vending machines. She had nothing left except the life growing inside her. The room fell into stunned silence. My father's hand froze around his champagne glass. Then Elena Rossi found her, Sigurd continued. A widow with no duty to help, no reason to care. Except that she understood what real family means. Elena became my grandmother. She gave my mother shelter, dignity, and purpose. She gave me life. Behind him, the LED screen lit up with Elena's photograph. 20 feet tall, smiling, radiant. Everything I am, Sigurd said, voice steady, I owe to 2 women. My mother, Olivia Harrison Mitchell, who sacrificed everything for me. And my grandmother, Elena Rossi, who proved love isn't about blood. It's about showing up. My parents were no longer smiling. Tonight, Sigurd announced, his voice echoing across 500 silent guests. I am launching the Elena Rossi Foundation for Teen Mothers. $5 million in initial funding, housing, childcare, education, and hope for young mothers abandoned by their families. The screen changed again. Elena's recorded message began to play. Hello, my dear ones. Elena's voice filled the grand ballroom. If you are watching this, then my grandson Sigurd is doing exactly what I always knew he would. Changing lives, healing hearts, becoming the man I believed in. My mother started to rise from her chair. My father grabbed her wrist and forced her back down. Family, Elena continued, is not DNA, not surnames, not inheritance. It is presence. When Olivia needed family the most, where were the Harrisons? When Sigurd took his first steps, spoke his first words, performed his first surgery, where were they? The camera swept across the crowd. Every gaze locked onto table 1. I leave everything to my real family, Elena said. To Olivia, my daughter by choice. To Sigurd, my grandson by love. And to those who abandoned them. She stared directly into the lens. I leave you the truth of what you threw away. Sigurd stepped back to the podium. I want to thank my family for being here tonight, he said. Mom, he looked at me. And Lance, the man who showed me what a real father is. My mother shot to her feet. Where are your grandparents? Where is your blood? She shouted. The entire ballroom turned toward her. No, Sigurd replied calmly into the microphone. You are strangers who share DNA. There is a difference. How dare you? My father began. Mr. Mitchell, Sigurd said, glancing toward Lance. I believe you have documents to present. Lance stood, folder in hand, walking toward the stage with the slow certainty of justice approaching. This is absurd, my father roared, storming forward, face red with fury. We are his grandparents. We have rights. Security moved in, but Lance lifted a hand. Let them come. My mother snatched a microphone from a nearby table. This is our grandson. They have poisoned him against us. We made one mistake 20 years ago. One mistake. I stood, my voice carrying across the hall without amplification. You gave me 10 minutes to pack. You turned my portrait face down. You signed documents disowning me and my unborn child. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose instantly, recording every second. That was different, my mother screeched. You were a disgrace. Pregnant at 17. I was your daughter, I said. Owen tried to slip toward the exit. 2 security guards blocked his path. Mr. Blake? Lance spoke into the podium microphone. Don't leave yet. This concerns you too. I'm not, Owen stammered. You're not what? Lance asked. The biological father who abandoned a pregnant teenager? Or the consultant being paid by the Harrisons to manipulate their daughter? My father lunged toward the podium. You can't prove. Lance smiled, pressing a remote. Oh, I can. The screen ignited with emails. The conspiracy exposed in 40-foot letters for 500 witnesses to read. 10% of assets recovered, Lance read aloud. Push the right buttons about Miss Father-Son moments. She has always been emotional. My mother's Chanel suit couldn't hide her trembling. My father's Harvard pin couldn't restore his dignity. Owen looked ready to vomit onto his rented shoes. Shall we now discuss, Lance continued, the legal documents you signed 20 years ago? The ones permanently severing all rights to Olivia and her children. The ballroom held its breath. Lance clicked again. The abandonment contract filled the massive screen. Every word magnified, every signature unmistakable. October 15, 2004, he read. We, Robert and Margaret Harrison, hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Olivia Harrison and any children born or unborn. The camera zoomed in on their signatures. Bold, clear, undeniable. This extends in perpetuity, Lance continued. Forever. Irreversible. You didn't just disown your pregnant daughter. You legally erased every generation that would come from her. We didn't know, my mother whispered. You didn't know? Lance raised another document. Mr. Harrison holds a Harvard law degree. He knew exactly what he signed. My father's mouth opened and closed, no words coming. But that's not all, Lance said. Let's discuss what happens when you abandon someone, then attempt to claim their inheritance. The crowd leaned forward. Even the waitstaff had stopped moving. 20 years ago, you threw Olivia away. Elena Rossi found her, loved her, raised her grandson as her own. And when Elena passed, she left very specific instructions about blood relatives who abandon family. That money should be ours, my father shouted. We're the biological grandparents who signed away all rights. Lance cut in. Look at the screen, Mr. Harrison. Look at your own signature. That is your handwriting declaring Sigurd does not exist to you. Channel 7's camera captured every second. Reporter Jennifer Chan held her microphone toward the stage, broadcasting live. Every person in this room, Lance said. Every phone, every camera, they are witnessing the truth. You abandoned a pregnant teenager. You signed away your grandchild. And now you want to profit from his success. Disgust rolled through the room. Guests literally turned their backs on table 1. And now, Lance said calmly, let's discuss Elena Rossi's will. The screen shifted to official probate documents, stamped with gold seals and notarized signatures. Article 7, Section 4, Lance read clearly. Any biological family member who previously abandoned, disowned, or rejected Olivia Harrison or Sigurd Harrison shall be permanently excluded from all inheritance, property, or financial benefit from this estate. She can't do that, my mother screamed. She can, Lance replied. And she did. The estate is worth $15 million. The restaurants, the properties, the investments, all of it goes to Olivia and Sigurd. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, you receive nothing. He clicked again. But more importantly, Lance said, Elena left you a personal message. Elena appeared on screen once more. But this footage was different. She looked straight into the camera, straight at my parents, Robert and Margaret Harrison. Her voice rang through the hall. I know you're watching this, probably surrounded by people you're trying to impress. Good. Let them all hear. You are the worst kind of cowards. You threw away a treasure because you feared judgment. I found that treasure. I nurtured it. I helped it shine. My mother collapsed back into her chair. You gave yourselves 10 minutes to pack your daughter's life. So now I give you the same. 10 minutes to leave this gala, leave this city, and leave Olivia and Sigurd alone forever. Starting now. Lance checked his watch. It is 8:47 p.m. At 8:57, if you are still here, I will file restraining orders, criminal harassment charges, everything. The ballroom was utterly silent, except for the ticking of the grand clock on the wall. 9 minutes remaining, Lance announced. My parents looked at one another, then at the exits, then at the hundreds of phones capturing every second of their disgrace. Mr. Blake, Lance said, turning to Owen, who was trying to disappear into his rented tuxedo. Let's review your consulting agreement. The emails reappeared on the massive screen. Lance read them slowly, each word sinking deeper. Olivia always was emotional. Push the right buttons. $500,000 up front seems reasonable for my involvement. That's taken out of context, Owen stammered. Is it? Lance asked. Let's look at the full context. He clicked through the entire email chain. You approached the Harrisons. You offered to manipulate the mother of your child for money. You referred to your son as an asset to be recovered. Sigurd stepped to the microphone. Mr. Blake, there's something you should know. I've known who you are since I was 15. I searched you. I saw your Stanford graduation photos, your wedding announcement, the birth notices for your other children, the ones you didn't abandon. Owen's face drained of color. I watched you build your life while my mother built hers alone. I saw your startup launches, your Forbes features, your perfect family Christmas cards. And I felt nothing. You know why? Sigurd continued. Because Lance Mitchell taught me to throw a baseball. Lance came to every surgical observation. Lance is my father in every way that counts. But you. Sigurd's voice hardened. You're a sperm donor who went bankrupt and got desperate enough to sell access to the son you never wanted. The IRS already knows about your bankruptcy fraud, Sigurd added calmly. By the way, we forwarded them your emails about hiding assets. A laugh broke out in the crowd. Then another. Soon, Owen was surrounded by open mockery from people who once respected the Blake name. 8 minutes remaining, Lance announced. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. Mr. Blake. I suggest you leave now. My father stood, attempting to gather dignity from the wreckage. This isn't over. We'll sue. The ballroom doors opened. A process server entered, followed by 2 uniformed police officers. Robert Harrison. Margaret Harrison. Owen Blake. The server raised official documents. You are being served with emergency restraining orders. He handed each of them a packet as 500 witnesses watched. These temporary orders take effect immediately. You are prohibited from coming within 500 feet of Olivia Mitchell, Sigurd Harrison, or Lance Mitchell. No contact through any medium. No calls, texts, emails, or third parties. A hearing for permanent orders is scheduled in 2 weeks. You planned this, my mother hissed at me. No, I said, standing. You planned this 20 years ago when you signed those papers. I'm simply finishing what you began. An officer stepped forward. You need to exit the premises immediately, or you will be in violation of the order. This is assault, my father shouted. This, the officer replied calmly, is consequence. Something I understand you're unfamiliar with. You have 5 minutes before arrest for violation. My mother grabbed her Hermes bag like a lifeline. You'll regret this, Olivia. The only thing I regret, I said loudly, is spending 17 years believing I needed your love. They walked toward the exit, Owen trailing behind. At the doorway, my father turned back one final time. That boy is our blood. Blood. Sigurd called after him. You bled my mother dry and left her for dead. Elena gave her a transfusion of real love. That's the only blood that matters here. The doors closed behind them. The entire ballroom erupted in applause. When it quieted, Sigurd returned to the podium, this time with me beside him. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, this is what we are truly here to celebrate. The screen displayed a building rendering. The Elena Rossi Center for Young Mothers, $0.5 million in initial funding. 10 full medical school scholarships for children of teen mothers. Housing for 20 families at a time. Childcare during classes. Job training. Everything my mother had needed 20 years ago, and found in one extraordinary woman. I took the microphone. Every young mother who comes to us will receive what I received from Elena. Not judgment but support. Not shame but dignity. Not abandonment but family. The first scholarship recipient is here tonight, Sigurd announced. Maria Santos, 17 years old. Valedictorian while raising her daughter. Maria, please stand. A young woman rose holding her baby. Tears streamed down her face. The standing ovation was thunderous. Maria will attend Harvard PIMI this fall. Full scholarship. On-site childcare, I announced. Because that's exactly what Elena would have done. Lance stepped onto the stage beside us. We're also announcing that the Harrison Industries Board has voted to redirect their annual charitable contributions, the $12 million they've donated to this hospital over the years. This amount is now being matched by an anonymous donor for the Elena Rossi Foundation. I knew who that anonymous donor was. It was the combined savings of every family Elena had ever helped, paying her kindness forward. In 1 year, Sigurd said, we will have supported 50 young mothers. In 10 years, 500. In 20 years, when another frightened 17-year-old finds herself alone and pregnant, she won't sleep in a park. She'll call us. The standing ovation lasted 5 full minutes. But the sweetest sound of all was the silence from table 1. Now empty forever. 3 weeks later, Lance showed me the business headlines. Harrison Industries stock dropped 30%, he said. The board held an emergency meeting. Your father has been voted out as CEO. The scandal had spread beyond Springfield. Family values hypocrites, read the Wall Street Journal. The 10-minute parents trended on social media for days. Someone leaked the footage of them being escorted out of the gala. 12 million views and counting. They're selling the house, Lance said, pulling up a listing. The Westfield mansion, price far below market. They need cash for legal fees. Their lawyer had tried to fight the restraining orders. The judge not only upheld them, he made them permanent after reviewing the evidence. And Owen? I asked. Worse, Lance replied. His ex-wife's attorney subpoenaed our emails. Hiding assets from bankruptcy court while owing $200,000 in child support is a federal offense. He's facing 3 years. I felt nothing. No triumph. No pity. Just emptiness. They've moved to Arizona, Lance added. Scottsdale. Your mother's sister took them in. They're living in her guest house. From a 7-bedroom mansion to a guest house. From society galas to exile. The best part. Lance smiled. Their church asked them to find somewhere else to worship. Apparently abandoning pregnant teenagers doesn't align with their beliefs. Every institution they valued more than me had turned its back on them. Are you okay? Lance asked. I'm free, I said. For the first time in 20 years, I am completely free. That night at dinner, Sigurd said. The foundation received another donation today. Anonymous. $50,000. We all knew exactly who it was not from. 6 months later, we gathered for our weekly family dinner. The tradition Elena started and we never abandoned. Sigurd carved the roast using the technique Elena had taught him when he was 12. So, he said casually, I saved 3 lives this week. Show off, Lance teased, pouring wine from Elena's collection. The youngest was 4 months old, Sigurd continued. Her mother was 17. She reminded me of someone. He looked at me with eyes that still believed in wonder despite everything. I told her about the foundation. She cried. She said she'd been sleeping in her car for a week. Not anymore, I said. She moves into the center tomorrow. This was our family.no DNA tests. No blood certificates. Just presence, consistency, and choice. Elena's portrait hung where the television used to be. We preferred her gaze to any screen. Fresh orchids sat beneath it, replaced weekly. Her favorite. I'm getting married next month, I announced. Lance nearly dropped his wine glass. You're supposed to let me propose first. Elena always said I should speak up for what I want. I pulled out the ring I'd bought. So, Lance Mitchell, will you make this official? Sigurd burst into laughter. The same bright laugh he'd had as a child. Mom, you just proposed over pot roast. Elena would approve, Lance said, sliding the ring onto my finger. Yes. Absolutely yes. We toasted with Elena's Waterford crystal, the glasses she had saved for celebrations. In the candlelight I could almost see her smiling. This was family. Not perfect. Not traditional. But real. Chosen. Permanent. And somewhere in Arizona, in a guest house, 2 strangers I once called parents were learning what I had known for 20 years. Some choices cannot be undone. But better choices, those can be made every single day. Thank you for staying with my story. If you've ever had to choose between blood and happiness, remember this. Real family shows up when the world walks away. Like and subscribe if this story reminded you that justice exists, even when it takes 20 years. Share this with anyone who needs to hear they deserve unconditional love. Comment family if you believe in chosen families, not forced ones. And if you're a scared 17-year-old somewhere, sleeping in your car or on a friend's couch, know this. You are not alone. There is help. There is hope.